I don't do intros. How you guys doing today? I'm doing alright today. Today we're playing Elden Ring again, and there was a new patch dropped a couple of days ago that honestly has completely changed the landscape of the game. And we're gonna talk about this new patch, what I think about the patch and all that stuff. But first, if you guys wouldn't mind liking and subscribing to the video, man, trying to get to 1,000 subs before the end of the year. We can do it if we're tenacious enough. We're halfway to 800 right now, so I greatly appreciate if you guys would just, go ahead and subscribe. Um, and also go and follow my Twitch if you haven't already, guys. I'll be streaming there today actually. So if you see this video and it goes up the day of, check on my Twitch channel, and we'll be doing some invasions, probably with this build that you're seeing right here, this Magic Jester build. And we're gonna talk about the new patch and a couple of different builds that I used on the new patch to see what was going on. So when I first initially read the patch, here's what went through my mind. Oh, so we're playing Dark Souls 3. And I think that's what a lot of people kind of assumed with the patch. I think it's a little bit more than that for Elden Ring. Dark Souls 3 had, it was a different game, different PvP in the game. All the Souls games are very different PvP wise from each other, which is actually kind of crazy. But Dark Souls 3 Poise pretty much was non-existent, and you had tons of hyper armor. Elden Ring kind of like had Poise to an extent before this patch. It felt like you could tank a couple of hits, maybe two at the most, and then you would get Poise broken by certain weapons. It depending on how much Poise you had, right? But for this new patch, they've pretty much lowered the effect of Poise, gave every weapon the ability to break Poise with a single R1, and then they gave a shit ton of hyper armor to like bigger weapons and stuff like that. So essentially they almost did what Dark Souls 3 does, not quite, because Dark Souls 3 had the R1 shoot combo on every weapon. Elden Ring doesn't have that, but it does now have hyper armor like Dark Souls 3. As you can see right there, I hit this man and he poises through my rapier hit, and yeah. And like he even poises through carrying greatsword there with his other greatswords. Man, I have the patch notes next to me here, so we're gonna talk about everything. Let's just go through everything. First of all, I want to mention the builds I'm using in this video. It's just kind of like what I was testing. So the first build you've seen is the Magic Gesture build. The reason why I was using that build is because there is no kind of poise on that build. And he uses a rapier, and a rapier has a higher crit modifier. And something that they did in the patch is they increase crit damage. So I was just wondering if I could get some backstabs and some parries. I do get a backstab because they did make backstabs easier to get in the game, and they boosted critical damage as well. One thing I will say, and this is the build you're seeing right now, the Moonlight Knight, this is like my most poise heavy build, and of course he's going to have a ton of hyper armor now because the Dark Moon Greatsword is a greatsword, so it has it's going to have a ton of hyper armor just for being a bigger weapon. So something that I noticed about the Dark Moon Greatsword is, man, it feels really good to play with. I tested this build and I tested another greatsword build that I had, because these two weapons that I thought of kind of jumped out to me at the most, and that is the Dark Moon Greatsword and the Briar Executioner sword. Not Briar Executioner, what's it called? The Mariah's Executioner sword. So those greatswords are fancy, and I like them, and I wanted to try them out. This build is more poisey than my Mariah's Executioner greatsword build. So I wanted to test out the difference and see, if poise mattered as much. Honestly, I think it does to an extent, but I think that's completely your choice. If you want more hyper armor, throw on the Bull Goat's Talisman. If you don't think you need all that hyper armor, which you probably don't, because if you're wearing like this armor setup I have right now and you're using a greatsword, you're probably getting enough hyper armor to begin with. So you probably don't need it. I don't think I do. I don't know. I'm gonna test this build out today again, probably. I'm probably gonna use like every build I use in this video today on live stream today. And I apologize, guys. I know this video is kind of all over the place, but there's a ton of information that I need to go over, and I haven't even began to read the patch notes yet. So, poise. They also added damage reduction on certain types of like spells and stuff, and attacks, and Ashes of War, stuff like that generate poise. They adjusted backstabs, so like you can like roll behind someone while they're swinging a big weapon and get a backstab now. You couldn't do that before. They also nerfed Quick Step and Bloodhound Step again for like the 50th time, which I fully support. I think that was really cool. Keep doing that. So they nerfed like all the damage reduction stuff, like golden barrier of gold, golden vow, the spell proof items. They nerfed all of those. And I think that maybe includes the talismans as well. I don't know. They increased crit damage. They decreased recovery time after a miss crit. And they increase poison damage of attacks that occur after missing a critical. They fixed a lot of bugs. Well, a few different bugs. Something they didn't do was like nerf specific things besides Bloodhound Step and the damage reduction spells and items. But that's alright. So what do I think about this patch though? I think it changes the landscape of the game. And at this point in the game's life cycle, anything that makes the game interesting to play and make it feel new again, I appreciate. Even if I don't really agree with the changes, I think Elden Ring approached Poise back when before this patch, pre-Poise patch. I think Elden Ring approached Poise in a way different from other games. Like, yeah, you can tank one hit if you have this amount of Poise, right? Like, I think for a heavy thrusting sword, which I think was, like, the biggest weapon that you could poise through, correct me if I'm wrong on that, I think you needed, like, 85 poise. Or something, 87, something like that. And, hold on, this is actually a really cool combo right here. That I'm gonna show off right here. Boom, boom, boom. So I think every hit on that actually, stuns you now because of the poise damage. And look at that. Weapon art into not fully charged weapon art, by the way, just you know, light weapon art. Into an R1, into an R2, because the R2 in the Mariah's Execution Sword actually is a really good roll catch because of the delay on it. And I think it could make this build really interesting, man. I also want to try out the Regalia on the Briar Executioner build, which is the build you're seeing here. This is a level 90 build. The Moonlight Knight is level 168, and the Magic Gesture build is level 200. And this one's obviously level 90, like I said. This guy was using what is this? The Prayerful Strike, I think it's called. He was using Prayerful Strike, and I appreciate it. I really do. I think it's really cool. Anyway, what was I saying? Man, I don't know. I just enjoyed this patch. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think this patch is awesome. But I also did kind of like how Elden Ring did their poise to begin with. I thought it was cool, but you know, I also think that this change is really cool, and it's like really fun to play with now. And something that I noticed actually was normally nowadays when you would invade before this patch, you wouldn't really find 3-man squads all that much. At least I didn't. It was mostly just 2-mans or you know, 1 man in a blue. But this patch actually brought a lot of people back to the game. You're seeing a lot of overleveled phantoms just join their hosts and stuff, trying to carry them to the game. This guy's using Bloodhound Step giant crushers. I don't know. Shit was kind of funny to me. Look how much damage the Dark Moon Greatsword does right there. I don't know if he was a Sword Seal gamer or if he just didn't have armor, but that's a lot of damage, man. I gotta test more, but I do think the Dark Moon Greatsword is like getting all these shadow buffs. They've buffed this thing like and it was like fine at the beginning of the game. There was no reason to buff it at all, and they decided let's buff the Dark Moon Greatsword, let's buff the Dark Moon Greatsword, and then let's buff Greatswords as a whole. And this patch obviously is a new buff to Greatswords and colossal weapons in general because they do great amounts of poise damage. Like even on previous patch, nobody is poisoning a Greatsword. Nobody. But you know, here now everything poise breaks you, and now great swords have even more hyper armor. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you guys think about the new patch, man. Have you guys tested anything at all? Have you guys you know, have your builds been affected by this? For me personally, how Poise worked before, I would only really use Poise if I was trying to pull off a certain weapon art or a certain spell that would normally would get staggered or stunned because of Poise in a very easily. If you needed to channel it, for example, Ghost Flame explosion. What's it called? I forgot what that Ghost Flame spell is called, but I have it on the what's that build called again? I can't remember. The Ghost Flame build. I keep forgetting the names of everything. I'm sorry. I haven't really played too much Elden Ring over the last like 2 or 3 weeks. I've honestly just been recording every so often. That's another thing. If you guys want to see anything specific, let me know, man. I'll try and make it happen. So here is the backstab window. Look at that, man. And that's a lot of damage on the rapier. If that was a dagger, he probably would have died. Because you know motion value and all that stuff. I'm only using the rapier because this guy's name is Ricard. And if you guys get the reference, let me know. And it has a really good crit modifier on it. So, I mean, how many times can you roll without being caught, my guy? You know? Anyway, guys, that's kind of my thoughts on the patch. Let me know if you guys like the patch or not. I kind of do. I haven't really played a whole lot with it, but you know, it's been a good ride. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and sign off here. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the invasions. So again, guys, if you guys wouldn't mind liking and subscribing to the video, man, trying to get to 1,000 subs before the end of the year. I think we could do it if we're tenacious enough. And go ahead and follow my Twitch if you haven't already. I'll be streaming today over there for 2-3 hours probably. So if you guys see this video when it goes up, let me know. And come say hi to me on Twitch, man. With that being said, guys, fare thee well, peace out, and all that fun stuff. I'll see you guys later, man.